Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Scare Us Already, the podcast where we talk about horror movies, both old and new. We give our opinion and we try to find a movie that will scare us. I'm your host, Cheyenne, with my co host, Dave.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
So, today we're going to be talking about nature horror movies. That's both the outdoor elements as well as animals. If you like what you hear, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe and follow us on all of our links down below. But for now, let's get into it.
That's right. Just like Cheyenne just mentioned, for this week's episode, we will continue to dive into the different genres and subgenres of horror films. We decided to look at the monster genre again, and more specifically, the subgenre of animals and nature. And we're going to discuss three of our favorite animals and or nature related horror films. So with that being said, let's dive into it and see if any of our picks are some of your favorites as well. So Shy, what's your number three?
So my number three is a movie from 2010. It is the movie Frozen, directed and written by Adam Green, starring Shawn Ashmore, Emma Bell, and Kevin Zegers. This one follows two sisters, one with the magical powers to freeze people. I'm just joking. That's obviously the other Frozen. But this one follows three skiers stranded on a chairlift who are forced to make life or death choices which prove more perilous than staying put and freezing to death. This movie is such a fun watch. I think that Shawn Ashmore does a great job. I love the Ashmore twins, but Shawn really does hold this movie up along with Emma Bell. Obviously, it is a terrifying thought to be frozen, to be out in the frozen elements to begin with, just in general. But
Mhm.
you add on a chairlift that is way too high up in the air. If you fall, this isn't just like, oh, but you get down, you can ski off. This is you're going to break something. And let's just throw in a pack of wolves while we're at it. So this one I think is such a good one because you have so much tension. You have more than one character. I like the ones where it's one character fighting the elements alone, but I think it's much more interesting when you have a group of characters who have their own dynamic. You have, the girl who is a bit more of the damsel in distress type of character, and then these two guys who are trying to do their best to be the macho man, save the day. One wants to literally fight these wolves, and the other one is just trying to do anything to survive. But I
Mhm.
think that this one's really interesting overall. I like that it's not just freezing to death, but it's also these wolves. So even if they were to get down, break a leg, and try to hobble off, you're now adding on hobbling off and trying to survive an entire pack of wolves while you're
Right.
at it. So I just think that it's there's just so much happening in it, but it never feels like it's being overwhelmed with like this thing and that thing and just kind of rolling your eyes. It all felt very natural, like something that could genuinely happen and would be an
Mhm.
awful thing to happen to someone.
Right. Yeah, that's a good pick. I do recall watching that a while back,
Hmm.
and yeah, it definitely you know, gives you that element of, fight or flight, because you're stuck out here on this ski lift, and you're faced with either freezing to death or, like you said, trying to get down and possibly injure or kill yourself, and then have to fight with not only the elements but the animals as well. So, yeah, that was definitely a good watch.
And another reason why I will never go skiing. A lot of reasons, but definitely one of
Right.
them. What about you? What's your number three on your list?
All right, so for me, my number three, it's an oldie but a goldie, and that's 1963's The Birds, which stars Rod Taylor,
Oh.
Tippi Hedren, and Jessica Tandy, and is directed by the late great Alfred Hitchcock. So the story basically revolves around a wealthy San Francisco socialite who proceeds pursues a potential boyfriend to a small northwestern uh, California town that slowly takes a turn for the bizarre when birds of all kinds suddenly begin to attack people. So this one, unfortunately, isn't available on streaming on the platforms, but it is available for rent or purchase on Amazon Prime or Fandango at home. Um, so for me, the birds, although it was several, 5 years before I was born. But
Oh,
when I
wow.
was, yeah, but when I was able to watch it, it's a very good movie. It's well done. Uh, I like the fact that they never really explain why the birds started attacking, and the movie concludes kind of like, is it over or isn't it? So I love the way that Alfred Hitchcock did that. A lot of the scenes are well done, and when the birds start to attack, the sounds that they make, it's creepy, and um,
Mhm.
you hear this screeching and whatever other sounds they're making. But yeah, I love this movie. It's always a good watch. So when it comes to animal movies, that's usually one that I always refer to.
Wow, I'll have to admit I've never seen it. I've seen clips
What?
of it and I've seen parts of it, but I've never seen the actual movie because I just didn't think it was a scary premise of like birds attacking.
Oh, it's a
So
very well done movie. It's really
I do
good.
know it gave Tibby an actual bird phobia after doing that movie because Alfred Hitchcock was a bit of a tormentor to his
Mhm.
actors,
Mhm.
especially on that set. So, maybe I should watch it. I'm sure the fear that she shows will probably be very visceral. You really feel it.
Right. No, it's like I said, it's really well done, and you can tell when the birds are real and when the birds are, fake, but
Hmm.
it seemed like the fake birds was far and few between. A lot of the scenes were
Now,
with
from what I've
with
heared, it's
real
all a lot
birds.
of real birds.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that'll be one of the fun facts on how many birds were used in it. But I will say, have you seen one movie that I think was inspired by the birds called Birdemic?
No, no, I never saw that.
It's a classic. If you've never seen it, Google it.
All
Well,
right.
my number two is a more recent movie. It is Beast from 2022. This one was directed by Baltazar Kormacur and starring Idris Elba, Leah Sava Jeffries, and Ayanna Haley. It follows a father and his two teenage daughters who find themselves hunted by a massive rogue lion intent on proving that the savannah has but one apex predator. This movie, I will admit, it took me a long time to watch. I hadn't watched it when it first came out, but I wanted to. And so
Mhm.
I did get this one. And I also note all the movies I'm listing cannot be rented anywhere or cannot be watched for free anywhere. I had to go to my local library and get all of the movies. So this one I think is such a good one. It's literally Cujo, but with a lion,
Mhm.
which in my opinion makes it already a little bit better than Cujo. I'm so sorry. It's just much more scary when there's a giant lion coming at you. Obviously, it has my beloved Sholto, who has made my list 3 times now. Did not know I loved him as much as I do, but I guess I really do. His character in it is so fun. He is the sort of guide, and he calls himself the middleman between ensuring that all the hunting that's being done in Africa is on the up and up, as well as ensuring that like all the prides that are out there are doing well. He raised two cubs. He introduces them to the pride that he knows and he's been studying, and these two brother bear or not bears, brother lions who he raised. And then as they continue traveling, they mention obviously that there's a whole bunch of poachers who are wreaking havoc on the wildlife in Africa, which is sadly a very true thing. And this one lion, I was rooting for at the beginning of the movie because he's killing these poachers, wrecking them. And I'm like, heck yeah, get him. But then sadly, he continues and goes after Idris Elba and his two girls. And I thought that a lot of the foreshadowing that happened in this movie wasn't too hand fisted. There was a lot of points where obviously where I was like, okay, that's going to come back around. That's going to come back around. This is going to happen. But it never felt like it was like, here's a gun. This will be important. It was very organic in the movie.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that because a lot of these movies, it's so hand-fisted and they really like focus on everything that's going to come back around and how this thing is going to save them. So I did enjoy that. One thing that I will say I didn't enjoy as much about the movie was just how much this one lion could survive. It got to the point towards the end where you're just kind of like, oh, come on, dude. But I will say also on a better note, it's brutal. I don't know if you saw this one, but
Mhm.
especially towards the ending, I was I was cringing. It got brutal with some of the scenes between Idris Elba and this lion. I felt so like, oh my gosh, just give up, stop fighting. I know he was fighting for his daughters, but I would have been like down for the count because that lion was going at it.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good movie. I enjoyed it. There have been a couple other movies similar to that where
Yeah.
the tourist on safari gets stuck in the truck or the jeep, and of course the lions come and then it's about surviving against the lions. So yeah, but that was a good movie though.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it overall, and of course, I think Idris Elba is a great actor. The girls were really good in it overall,
Mm.
and I like a good father daughter story. Obviously, I'm close to my father doing this podcast, so there was a little bit of that aspect to it. But yeah, I thought it was a fun watch. All in all, and the graphics in it didn't look horrible, but there were definitely times where you could tell even the humans were CGI, and that kind of looked a little wonky. But it wasn't like Crawl, which is one of my honorable mentions, where you could tell those crocodiles or gators were very CGI heavy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, what's your number two on
All
your
right.
list?
So my number two is probably one of the newest films of my top three, and that's not saying much because this is back in 1990.
Oh, geez.
But for me, number two was 1990's Arachnophobia, which stars Jeff
Great one.
Daniels, Harley Jane Kozak, and John Goodman, and is directed by Frank Marshall. Just like you said, my top three, they're not available on any of the streaming platforms, so either you have to rent or purchase them from Amazon Prime or Fandango, or like Shy does, go to your local library and see if they have it.
It helps when you work in one.
Right, exactly. So arachnophobia is basically about a new species of South American killer spider that they discover. Unfortunately, it winds up killing one of the photographers that's on this trip, and eventually finds its way into his box where they're shipping the body back to his hometown. It finds its way into the box and hitches a ride to California. So once it's there, it gets out and starts to breed with spiders that are living on this farm, leaving a trail of death that puzzles and terrifies the new young doctor, Dr. Jennings, who has recently arrived there with his family and trying to start a practice in this small town where the local doctor, he's finally retiring, but of course the town people love him, so trying to get used to a new doctor is not an easy thing. But like I said, until people start mysteriously dying, and then we find out it's because of the spider um, babies that are bred. They're smaller
Mhm.
than the one that was found in South America, but just as deadly. This movie gives me creeps every time I watch it. I mean, I literally scream sometimes, at certain scenes because I hate spiders. I can't stand spiders. Spiders creep me out. And every time I watch this movie, I'm like, s- you know, I feel like things are crawling on me and I'm scratching and itching. And it's just like, ah. So it's not a movie that I will watch on purpose. It's like I'll watch it when
When
I
you have to.
really, yeah, when I really, really want to watch something that's gonna, give me the heebie-jeebies. But yeah, it just creeps me out too much. So I
Yeah,
love
it
it.
is
So
a. Oh. I think that movie gave me arachnophobia when you showed
mm,
it to me as a kid because I don't remember being as scared of spiders until I saw that, and it made me never want to eat popcorn again. That scene still runs through my mind whenever I eat popcorn. And whenever I see a spider in general, I have just, it doesn't matter how small it is, can't handle it anymore. So thanks for that.
you're welcome.
But that's a great choice one. Well, my number one on my list is The Bay from 2014, or sorry, 2012. And this movie is a mockumentary horror film directed by Barry Levinston and starring Will Rogers, Kristen Connolly, and Keith Donahue. It takes place in a small town in Maryland in which they thrive on their water supply. However, the nearby chicken farm has come under fire for polluting the Chesapeake Bay due to dumping the chicken excrements and other toxins into the water. As rookie reporter Donna Thompson covers a local 4th of July celebration, a whole bunch of crazy deaths starts to take place as the mutated isopods start to enter people's body from the water. This movie, if you're talking about gives you the heebie jeebies and the creeps, oh my God, this movie made me want to stay away from water for so long. And it introduced isopods to me, which I don't know if you know what they look like. I will throw up a photo. So sorry.
Hmm.
Cover your eyes
Hmm.
in 3, 2, 1. It is basically a water cockroach, or it looks like a cockroach, or a roly
Okay.
poly, depending on where you're from. Japan adores these little creatures. Don't know why. Absolutely psychotic, in my opinion. But in this one, they crawl into the body and basically suffocate people through the throat as they
Hmm.
grow to these massive, ugh, sorry, these massive creatures. I literally was so grossed out watching it a second time for this. And I've only seen it a few times, but I know that this movie is one of my favorites.
Hmm.
But watching it again for this, I was cringing all over again. Um, I love a good found footage movie, a good mockumentary. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. It doesn't get horribly shaky cam, but obviously there's a good amount of it in this movie. But overall, I think it's such a fun watch. And then, of course, you have the issue of these journalists reporting on this, and the government, and the town and mayor and all that trying to basically silence them and hide it because this town is known for their lake, their Chesapeake Bay celebration, all that kind of stuff. So obviously they do not want this coming out. The chicken farm does not want this coming out. So it's a lot of that storyline on top of just like the general horror happening around everyone.
Hmm.
But I think that this is such a fun one to watch if you are someone who does not like to get in the water already and wants another reason to convince people to not take you to a lake.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. To be honest, I don't even remember what it was about.
I'm
Um,
pretty sure we watched it together a very long time ago.
yeah, very long time ago. But
Well, it
yeah,
clearly stuck with me.
I have to check it out again though, because like I said, I don't remember a lot of it, if any of it. So
Mhm.
probably would be good to watch it again just to refresh my memory.
But what about
Well,
you? What's your number one of all time nature versus man movie?
well, for me, this one's been on my list before, and it will always be one of my top favorite movies, especially when it comes to animals and nature, and that's 1975's Jaws.
Ah.
which stars Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss, and is directed by Steven Spielberg. So, for anybody who's been living under a rock for the last 50 years, when a massive killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community off Long Island, it's up to a local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down. Um, this movie made me afraid of the water. Um, I saw it as a young, I wouldn't say too young, but I probably was about 7 or 8 when I saw it. And from that day on, I have been terrified of the water.
Oh
I
no.
don't want to get in the water. I don't want to go scuba diving. I don't want to go snorkeling. I don't. The closest thing I'll get to is a pool. I mean, I won't even get in a lake. That's how much this movie messed with my head. I know, you know, there is no way there's a shark in the lake,
But
but
you never know.
my head will not my head will not register that. My head's like, nope. I mean, that movie, and even now when I watch it, I know, because I've watched documentaries on Jaws and the making of and everything, so I know it's not a real shark; it's a mechanical shark. But the way Steven Spielberg did it, the way he filmed it, it still makes me sweat. Because it's just the tension along with the music, the dun 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 dun, and that scene where Roy Schneider is dumping chum into the water, and
Mhm.
that's when audience get the first real look at Jaws. That still like freaks me out when I see it. Even I've seen the movie probably 50 times, and I still go whoa, you know,
That's
every time
so
that scene
funny.
comes up.
Do you think it was a blessing that the mechanical shark wasn't working for any scene but that scene?
Yeah, I do, because I think if the mechanical shark worked more, then it probably would have taken away a lot of the eeriness of the movie. But because it wasn't
Mhm.
working, and Steven Spielberg had to find other ways to film the scenes by not showing the shark, I
Mhm.
think that helped, because I think if we would have seen the shark too many times, especially earlier in the movie, it probably would have took away from the big holy crap, scene. So yeah, I think that worked more in his benefit than disadvantage.
For sure. And
Yeah.
what do you think of the other ones? The sequels?
Ugh. Unfortunately, that was another movie, and I know I get on my soapbox about sequels, and yeah, 2 and 3 and 4, they did not need to make. Those were
3 and
horrible
4 for
movies.
sure didn't need to. 2 I
Yeah,
can forgive.
2, I just thought it was kind of weird. I'm like, wait a minute,
Oh, for sure.
how is there another big shark? But then yeah, 3, and especially they did it in 3D. And back then,
Mhm.
3D was horrible, so yeah, it looked pretty bad. And then number 4, the shark wants revenge, so it's gonna swim
That one
from
was really dumb.
yeah, so it's gonna swim from Long Island to the Bahamas.
I mean, you never know. Sharks can hold
Yeah.
grudges, maybe. I
Right.
believe spiders do.
Hey, I don't wanna know about that one. I
Do you
killed
have
2
any honorable mentions? Don't ever
uh,
kill them. Well, if you do, don't let the baby see because they're going to
uh
come for you. That's what I believe.
well, I was told a long time ago, spiders are beneficial because they eat other bugs.
Yeah, I said they say the same thing about centipedes, but I'm never going to have one of those.
Right? Actually, no, I don't have any honorable mentions. I did kind of toss up Cujo,
That's
but
what I was surprised wasn't on your list.
yeah, but when I rewatched it, it doesn't really stand the test of time. I mean, the acting in it is
It's a boring
horrible.
movie.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
and besides the dog slobbering all over the car, that was about it. I mean, there was no real to me, no real tension in the movie. It's
Uh
just
huh.
kind of just all right, it's okay. How about you?
I agree. Um, the only one I can think of other than Crawl, which I kind of threw in, because it's a fun one. Um, there was one called Centigrade. That was good, but it wasn't a horror movie.
Okay.
Technically, it goes under suspense, so I couldn't put it on the list. But it's about a guy who gets trapped in his car during a blizzard, and so it's kind of like Frozen, which is another reason I didn't add it because it's kind of the same idea of like one person trapped in the ice and the blizzard and all that kind of stuff. So it was a good watch. I like to see people trying to survive in
Hmm.
situations like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, that one and then also Nowhere, which can be watched on Netflix. That one's also a really good one, but that one's also under, I think, like thriller and suspense, but not horror. But
Okay.
that one's about a woman who gets stuck in a shipping container trying to travel, and the shipping container ends up getting lost in the ocean.
Okay.
So she is trapped out in the ocean, nowhere to go, in a shipping container. And I thought that it was a really fun watch. It's very good. It's very much a survivalist movie.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so the only reason they didn't make the list is because they weren't horror. Honestly, I don't know if they would have though. I think Frozen, Beast, and The Bay are definitely probably like my top three. I think those are solid movies.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there were a lot out there, but a lot of them were not worth not worth the watch.
Nah.
So, yeah, as we continue to dive down into more of these subgenres, I'm pretty sure, we're going to have some films that could possibly cross over, onto another subgenre. So, you never know.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep searching for a movie that will scare
Scare us.
us. Hopefully, we'll catch you in the next episode. Go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe, and put down in the comments what your favorite nature-based horror movie is, or what sort of animal or natural area would you hate to be trapped in? Because for me, it's definitely centipedes and anything that's super cold. What about you?
uh, the water,
Water
you
and
know,
spiders.
water and spiders.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye.